Let's keep it a buck. You can't talk about modern Atlanta hip-hop without mentioning Young Thug and Gunna. They are not just rappers, they are cultural architects. Young Thug, also known as Jeffrey Williams, is the mad scientist of the new school. He came out swinging with a flow so unique, so unpredictable, that people either called him a genius or said he was ruining hip-hop. There was no in-between. He gave us a new language, a new way to dress, and a sound that has influenced almost every artist who's come out since. He's the head of Young Stoner Life, or YSL, which to many of us was just a record label, a family of creatives pushing the culture forward. Then you have Gunna, Sergio Kitchens. He's the protege, the student who became a master in his own right. Thug put him on and Gunna ran with it, creating his own wave of drip culture. The man made fashion and luxury rap his entire brand, and honestly, it worked. He wasn't just rapping about designer clothes. He made you feel like you needed to step your own game up. His chemistry with Young Thug is undeniable. When they get on a track together, it's like watching Jordan and Pippen in their prime. They created anthems, Ski Hot making YSL feel less like a label and more like the Avengers of the Atlanta trap scene. Their influence goes way beyond just the music charts. They represent a certain kind of freedom and success that a lot of people from the bottom aspire to. It's not just about two rappers, it's about the potential fall of an empire we all watched them build from the ground up. Now, let's get to the mess. Why is your timeline buzzing about Young Thug snitching on Gunna? Your TikTok feed every hip-hop blog. It all started with leaked footage from a pre-trial hearing. A proffer. In the video, you see Thug's lawyer, Brian Steele, talking to the judge and prosecutors. Steele starts laying out a defense. Studio gangster. Tough talk is for the music. A positive force in his community. Then he brings up another artist, and the internet lost it. The clip that went viral showed the lawyer mentioning another individual who he claimed was armed during a traffic stop. Not Thug. Social media detectives jumped to conclusions. They took the snippet and ran with it, screaming that Thug was pointing the finger to save himself. Gunna had already taken a plea deal and was out. People connected the dots and decided Thug was telling on Gunna. The narrative was set. The mentor sacrificing his protege. The king throwing his prince under the bus. It became a trial by social media. Rat emoji everywhere under Thug's pictures. Snitch thrown around until it meant nothing. Context didn't matter. It was the lawyer speaking, not Thug. All that mattered. Young Thug snitches on Gunna. Headline. To really understand what's happening, you have to go back to the beginning of this legal nightmare. In May 2022, Fulton County DA Fonnie Willis dropped a bombshell indictment. She hit Young Thug, Gunna, and 26 other associates with a massive 56-count RICO case. RICO stands for the Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act, a federal law originally designed to take down the mob. Prosecutors use it to connect separate crimes and people to one enterprise. The DA claimed YSL wasn't a record label, but a violent street gang. The indictment painted YSL as responsible for murder, armed robbery, carjackings, drug dealing over more than a decade. Prosecutors used song lyrics, social media posts, and hand signs as evidence. They alleged Young Thug wasn't just the CEO, but the founder and leader, ordering hits and running the operation. It was a shocking accusation aimed to dismantle YSL from the top down. The stakes are incredibly high, potential decades behind bars. It's about taking down what the state believes is an entire network, with Thug at its center. Alright, let's cut through the noise and get to the facts, the stuff that's written down in black and white on actual court documents. The video that caused all this chaos was from a proffer session. A proffer is basically a meeting where the defense can show the prosecution what their strategy might be, hoping to get evidence excluded or shape the trial. In this case, Young Thug's lawyer, Brian Steele, was arguing that the state was unfairly targeting his client. He was trying to establish a pattern of Thug being wrongly accused, while others were the real culprits. The key moment that everyone is hung up on is when Steele discusses a 2017 traffic stop involving Thug and several others. In the transcript, Steele argues that another YSL member, not Thug, told police the guns in the car were his, and that this person was later prosecuted for it. Then he brings up another artist, and the internet lost it. The most important fact here is that Steele never mentions Gunna's name in this exchange. He does not say Gunna did it. He is referencing other individuals in other situations to build an argument for his client. Furthermore, the documents confirm that Steele was speaking, not Young Thug. In a court of law, what a lawyer says as part of their argument is not considered testimony from their client. Thug wasn't on the stand, he wasn't under oath, he wasn't providing a statement, his lawyer was doing his job, zealously defending his client. Alright, let's draw a hard line in the sand between what is real and what is just straight-up cap. The fiction? Young Thug sat down with the district attorney and gave them a statement implicating Gunna for a better deal. This narrative paints him as a cold, calculating snitch who betrayed his closest friend. But honestly, this story is fueled by out-of-context video clips, memes with rat emojis, and commentary from people who get their legal advice from Instagram. Now, the fact of the matter is way more boring and legalistic. Fact: Young Thug has not taken a plea deal. He has maintained his innocence and is proceeding to trial facing the full weight of the RICO charges. That makes the snitching for a deal argument fall flat on its face. Another fact: the controversial statements were made by his lawyer, Brian Steele, during a pre-trial hearing, not by Thug himself. That distinction gets lost in the social media sauce. So the truth is, a lawyer's aggressive defense tactic was twisted into a story of betrayal. When the internet is going crazy, the best thing to do is listen to the people who actually know what they're talking about, the lawyers. Young Thug's attorney, Brian Steele, has been very vocal about this. He called the snitching allegations a load of crap. He says his courtroom comments were a legal strategy to show Thug is consistently and unfairly targeted. He referenced a separate, years-old case, nothing to do with Gunna. Steele's job? Create reasonable doubt. That's what he was doing. On the other side, you have the prosecution. The Fulton County District Attorney's Office has largely stayed quiet on the specifics of the proffer video, as they typically don't comment on trial strategy. However, their position has been clear from day one. They believe YSL is a gang, and that Young Thug is its leader. Their entire case is built on this premise. They are the ones who offered Gunna the plea deal, and they are the ones who will have to prove their case against Thug in court. Their actions, like using rap lyrics as evidence, show they are willing to use unconventional methods to secure a conviction. They haven't confirmed any snitching, but they are definitely watching the public drama unfold. Then you have Gunna's side of things. When Gunna took his plea deal, his lawyer, Steve Sato, released a statement that was very, very clear. Let's break down what a plea deal actually is, because a lot of people are getting this twisted. A plea deal is basically a negotiation between the prosecution and a defendant. The defendant agrees to plead guilty, usually to lesser charges, in exchange for a more lenient sentence. Prosecutors love plea deals because they guarantee a conviction and save the time and expense of a long trial. For the defendant, it's a way to get some certainty and avoid the risk of facing a much harsher sentence if they go to trial and lose. It's a business transaction in a system that is overloaded. Now, in a big RICO case like this one, plea deals are a key part of the prosecution's strategy. They often try to flip co-defendants, getting them to plead guilty and agree to testify against the other, bigger targets. This is where the term snitching comes from. If a defendant takes a deal that requires them to provide testimony against their co-defendants, that is considered cooperation or snitching. This is what everyone accused Gunna of doing. This is where the Alford plea comes into play, which is what Gunna took. An Alford plea is a rare and kind of weird legal maneuver. It allows a defendant to say, "I maintain my innocence, but I admit that the prosecution has enough evidence to likely convict me at trial." The fallout from this situation goes way beyond the courtroom. It's a direct hit to the heart of hip-hop culture and the idea of street loyalty that the genre has always championed. For decades, the #1 rule has been no snitching. It's a code of silence that's been glorified in countless songs. The perception that Thug, a leader and a cultural icon, would break that code is devastating for a lot of fans. It challenges the authenticity that so many of these artists build their brands on. If the king of slime isn't loyal, then who is? It creates a level of cynicism and distrust that poisons the well for everyone. This whole mess puts a massive strain on the relationship between Young Thug and Gunna, which was once seen as one of the strongest brotherhoods in the industry. Think about it. Thug is locked up, fighting for his life, and he's seeing headlines and social media posts accusing him of betraying his own protege. Meanwhile, Gunna is free, but he's being ostracized by many in the industry and labeled a snitch, even though his lawyers say otherwise. Other rappers have made comments that suggest they're distancing themselves from Gunna. That kind of public pressure can destroy a friendship, regardless of the truth. It's a tragedy for a movement that had so much momentum. So after all the drama, all the legal talk, and all the social media madness, what's the final answer? Did Young Thug snitch on Gunna? Based on all the available facts, the court documents the statements from the lawyers involved. The answer is a clear and simple no. This entire narrative was built on a misunderstanding of legal strategy, a viral clip stripped of all its crucial context. It's a prime example of how quickly fiction can become fact, especially when it's a story people want to believe. Let's quickly recap the main points. The controversial statements were made by Young Thug's lawyer, not by Thug himself. A lawyer's job is to defend their client. The statements were part of a legal argument to show a pattern of Thug being unfairly targeted. Gunna's name was never mentioned in this specific exchange. Furthermore, Young Thug has not accepted any kind of plea deal. He is still fighting the case and maintaining his innocence. You can't snitch for a deal you never took. The idea that he told on Gunna is just not supported by any of the evidence made public. The facts don't support the story, period. As for Gunna, he took what is called an offered plea, which allowed him to maintain his innocence while accepting a sentence to get out of jail. His lawyer has been adamant that Gunna has not cooperated with the prosecution and will not testify against anyone in the YSL case. Now the streets might not see that distinction. To many, taking any kind of deal when your friends are still locked up is a form of betrayal. But legally speaking, he did not snitch. The plea deal was a personal decision to get out of a bad situation, not an act of turning on his friend. Ultimately, the legacy of both artists is on the line. Young Thug's legacy as a revolutionary artist is now tangled up in a legal battle that could define him as either a gang leader or a victim of a biased system. And now he's also fighting off these snitching allegations. Gunna's legacy as the king of drip is now overshadowed by questions of his loyalty. Can he recover from the snitch label even if it's not true? The court of public opinion is often more powerful than a court of law. But the one thing that seems clear is that this narrative of betrayal is just that, a narrative, not the truth.